Wednesday again. This is the Wednesday weekly learning session for local bartending school for May 25th, 2022. My name is Carlos Navia. I have been a bartender for 20 plus years now in several different states and even Mexico. I'm coming to you from my tiki bar here in San Luis Obispo, California. I do this live every Wednesday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you're a student of local bartending school already, when you go into the link, you can just put that you're already an enrolled student, put in your information, and get the link directly to go to this Zoom call. If you are not a student of local bartending school, they will ask you for a little bit of information, and then they will give you the link to get to this Zoom call, and you are always welcome to ask me any questions about anything on any Wednesday. So, got some things coming up. Memorial Day weekend coming up, usually a big weekend, a big party weekend for people, a lot of people going out of town. But before we kind of talk about that and get into that stuff, Tales of the Cocktails coming up at the end of July. Once again, Tales of the Cocktail is a nonprofit foundation. Their mission is for the advancement of the hospitality industry. Maybe it's a society of bartenders and spirit industry professionals that work to help people advance and get to where they want to be in this industry. So they have their annual convention. It happens in the French Quarter in New Orleans, Louisiana, every July. Last 2 years really hasn't happened because of COVID, and they took it virtual. So they should still have the virtual platform this year. It's 100% free to download it and be a part of Tales of the Cocktail, exchange information with other bartenders, you meet new friends, you can ask a lot of industry professionals questions from all over the world. So it's a really, really great resource. They also had a virtual job fair last year. I would imagine they're going to do the same thing again this year. Lots of great information there. And even if there's not necessarily a job in your town or your area that has a position that's hiring right now, it's a good experience to kind of talk to, some restaurant owners and managers and see what they're looking for and get a feel, what they're looking for and what they want when they get someone to come in and, work in their bar, work in their tavern. Other thing that I just continue to see, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon, is RTDs, ready to drink cocktails. Stuff that comes in the can, stuff that comes in the bottle. You might have seen some of these that are very popular, like Cutwater. I think Cutwater is owned by Anheuser-Busch or Jim Beam. One of them owns that. I think Anheuser-Busch owns this one. And they make all kinds of different cocktails, palomas, margaritas, Bloody Marys, stuff like that. I think this one's actually owned by Jim Beam Company. Now, I can get that one off there. Or you might see these, which are also getting very popular, which I don't have a picture of. And that's the picture. And I lost that picture. The On the Rocks cocktails, also a very, very popular one. If I could find the picture of it to put up there, which I may or may not be able to find. I was missing one. Another popular brand. I see them a lot in the stores. You see them in the cooler in the beer section. And I don't know where the picture is of them. But On the Rocks, very popular brand. I think I showed the picture the other day of the Aviation, that they even have that in the bottle and they're selling that to go. And it's really kind of taken off again with the pandemic in these last 2 years. But, ready to drink cocktails, canned cocktails, bottled cocktails have been around for a very long time. I can remember them from when I was a kid in the late 70s and 80s, that we had these little cans called club cocktails. And they look like this. I found some old pictures because I thought they were awesome. And they look like this if I can find the right share. There we go. Someone's trying to sell these old cans on eBay. And that's it. Just these little cans, whiskey sour, Smirnoff Gimlet, and you could buy this stuff. They had Long Island, they had tons of different stuff. It came in cans and bottles, some of the other ones they have. And so I know it's been around since at least, late 70s, early 80s-ish. So I started kind of talking about them and, thinking about them and looking at some of the different ones that we have nowadays. And I'm like, I know the club cocktails have been around for a long time. So I just wanted to Google, when did club cocktails start? And like what happens on the internet, sometimes I went down a rabbit hole and found out way more about the company and club cocktails than I ever imagined there was to know. So club cocktails started bottling cocktails for people to go in 1892. And that's how old the concept is. And that's when they first started. So Andrew Hubling, I hope I'm not probably not pronouncing that right, but Andrew Hubling was a German immigrant. He opened a fancy hotel in 1959. And with the help of his sons, they started bottling cocktails for people to take with them. Martinis, Manhattans, different things like that, a lot of traditional cocktails at the time. Eventually, his sons started marketing it, and it became known as club cocktails. So that's how long it goes back and how long ago they started. They were called club cocktails. It's rumored, named after the club car of a Pullman train. So the club car on the train was the bar car. It's where you went and had a cocktail during your train ride, which could take, several days across the country at that time. So named it after the club car because people could take them to go. And you could take it on the road. You could take it for your journey. You could take it in a car. You could take it in the train. You could take it on a plane. You could take it wherever. So it was the club cocktail. They started to mass produce it. They started to market it and put it out there. Eventually, they started to import and create their own spirits that they sold at the hotel and made the cocktails out of. And, it became popular. It became a big thing. But then Prohibition came and they couldn't sell them anymore. They, they shut everything down. They couldn't sell their club cocktails. They couldn't mass produce them and send them out and distribute them. The company survived, though, because it's the same company that produces, bottles, and distributes A1 steak sauce. So for the years that they couldn't produce the club cocktails and produce their spirits and sell them, they just sold the steak sauce and managed to get by and managed to keep the company going. Prohibition was repealed. They went back to producing their cocktails, producing their spirits, and putting them out there. But, at that time, the demand wasn't there. It really wasn't the vogue thing. It wasn't the hip thing to do until after World War II. And after World War II, we kind of got into a different area. The United States got into the 50s and the 60s, and people started really entertaining at home and having parties and stuff, which brought back, the club cocktails and the ready-to-drink cocktails for people to take home. And I kind of like some of the advertising that they even have here, which I think is great, which is this one, party time. You can have a club cocktail anywhere while doing anything. Got a guy with scuba gear and safari guys and people doing different things, and a guy with a broken leg. Yeah, anytime is party time with a club cocktail. So, entertaining people at home became popular, became a big thing again. They even put out their own guide to entertaining at home. If I can bring up the picture here. And there it is, the Hublin Party Guide. Entertaining at home with the club cocktails. So they really, help push it and make it a thing to entertain at home and have cocktails at home. And of course, it behooved them because it helped, move their product and push their product. Got one more of these pictures too, because I like this one of their old advertisements, which I think were really great. Back to our screen. Of their club cocktails, just ready to go. Bam, ready to go. Here we are, ready to go. Throw a lime in there, throw an orange on there, whatever you want to garnish it with, or pour it over ice, club tails. And, their advertisement at the time was better than you get at the bar. Our cocktails are even better than you get at your local bar or your local tavern, which I did not ever find it to be that way. I don't know if that's really true. And the company's still around today. The company still exists, but they have changed their name now to catch up with the times. They are now Club Tales, but it is the same company that they started in 1892 when they started bottling cocktails and making cocktails to go. So it's kind of cool, that we see these trends. Like I said, late 70s, early 80s, these were also big as well. As we got into the 90s, the trend kind of died. The trend went to flavored vodkas and flavored martinis and Cosmos and things like that. So, they kind of died off a little bit. But as soon as the pandemic hit and everybody was stuck at home, boom, all of a sudden we have all these RTDs, all these ready-to-drink cocktails coming out and being produced and being sold. I believe the Club Tales company actually was sold off from the families a couple times and is now owned by Diageo, which is a one of the biggest, if not the biggest, liquor distributor in the world. They represent Johnny Walker, Ron Zacapa, the Nolet's family, which is Kettle One, Nolet's Gin, Guinness, and so many others just down the way that are all their products. And this is theirs as well. They bought it, they turned it into Club Tails, and that's its new name. So you still see them out there. But I see so many. I feel like every time I go to the store, I see a new one, or I see one that I've never seen before. And it's even gotten to where it's starting to become a thing here locally where I live in California, in San Luis Obispo. One of the things that the restaurant owners and tavern proprietors are dealing with in this area is that there are only so many liquor licenses. And they're not in a hurry to give out more liquor licenses in this area. Basically, the people think we have enough taverns. And they don't want a bunch of new bars popping up. We have plenty of bars. We have plenty of places that serve alcohol in this town. So it is very difficult to get a liquor license in this town. You have to put the money up front, and then there's a lottery. I think they give away 1 or 2 each year in this county. So it's very difficult for people to get that and be able to open their bar and serve, full spirits, full alcohol. Beer and wine license is a little different. You can get that a lot easier to just do beer and wine. But if you actually want to serve hard liquor, serve distilled spirits, that's a different license, and that one's very tough to get. So what do they do in the area where I live in? They found a little bit of a loophole in the sense that if I distill the product myself on site, I'm allowed to sell it for people to consume on site as well, as long as it's distilled right there in-house. Then you're just selling your own distillation. You're not buying distilled spirits from other people. I'm not sure exactly how it became a loophole, but it's a big thing that people do here now. So if they want to have a bar to serve hard liquor, they just make their own hard liquor. You can't serve anything from the outside. You can only serve what you produce there. So it is a limited selection. Hate to say that I have been to a tasting in this area and tried some 30 or 40 different distillers, different spirits that they distill here locally where I live. None of them really jumped out to me like, oh, that's good, I would buy that. Some of them were just downright awful and unpleasant. And what seemed like was going to be a really fun experience, found out it wasn't that fun experience really quickly, because they would give you something to sample. And if you taste it and you don't like it, you have to look the person in the eye that made it. So it's kind of an uncomfortable situation when you're like drinking something, and then I've got to look at this person like, oh no, it's smooth, and it's horrible. So it didn't end up being the funnest experience. But it was nice to kind of see what they produce here in the local area. One of the producers, Rod and Hammer Stills, Slow Stills, Rod and Hammer, as people produce it. Very nice gentlemen. They're members of the country club I used to work at here. That is a play off their names. But even they've started it here locally where I live in San Luis Obispo, and they're now producing their own ready to drink, ready to go cocktails in the can. They're Whiskey Paloma, Whiskey Mule. They make whiskey, by the way. That's their big whiskey margarita. I haven't tried them. I'm not sure how any of them taste, but they're just jumping on the bandwagon with what is the big trend now and what's really blowing up now. For a while there, it was, hard seltzers. I think that's kind of plateaued out. I think the hard seltzer phase is kind of dying down, and that's not a new idea either. Back in the 80s, early 90s, we had Zima. It was the same thing as White Claw now. It's just citrus flavored, same thing. Not a new concept, not a new idea, not an original idea. So we're going to continue to see them. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be popular for a while. They're going to hang out for a while. And, the thought comes, well, does this kind of threaten the bartender or the taverns? If people can just buy this stuff in a can and take it home, does that mean they won't go out to bars? And I think that's not the case. I don't think cocktail in a can or in a bottle is ever going to taste the same as a handcrafted cocktail that someone shakes up and makes for you right now. It's just not ever going to be the same, no matter how much they want to duplicate it. And yes, there's a lot of videos online and stuff like that where people can learn how to make their own cocktails and do certain things at home. But we have to remember that that's only part of the experience. people go out for the social interaction. That's what bars and taverns and clubs and stuff are really about. It's about social interaction. For the price of a beer at a bar here, I can buy a 6-pack of beer and take it home and drink it myself. I'm paying that premium to be out with people, talking to people, socializing. That is what we actually sell. We sell social interaction. The booze just loosens up the wheels. It helps people, with the social interaction, relieves anxiety. It takes the edge off. So it just helps with the social interaction. It's a social interaction aid. So, drinking at home is never going to replace, going to a bar. Going to your favorite bar, your favorite dive bar where you feel at home. You walk in, you don't have to order because they know what you drink. They start you a tab. You put your song on the jukebox. You play some darts. You shoot some pool. You play some shuffleboard. You watch the game. You go home. Nothing's going to replace that experience. No matter how big your TV is at home or how loud your stereo is, you're still going to want to go out and talk to people and meet people, at some point. The other thing that the rise of, the ready to drink cocktails, other way it can be beneficial to bars is batching cocktails and making cocktails in batches. The pandemic has kind of loosened up some of the laws, especially where I live in California, which is one of the very strictest states when it comes to about everything, pretty much. So, they've been able to loosen up the laws, allowing batch cocktails to be sold to go from bars and taverns and restaurants. So it's a great opportunity, to start selling batch cocktails and stuff like that for people to take to go. So a couple reasons to do it. Number one, if I'm in a situation where I know I'm going to need a lot of certain cocktail and I can make it in advance and put it in a speed pour or storm pour like this and just pour it out of there over the rocks, why wouldn't I do it? Situations like that would be special day of the year. It's the Super Bowl. I have a special Super Bowl cocktail that's on special. It's $3 today. I make it ahead of time. And I just, on the rocks, garnish it, straw, on the rocks, garnish it, straw, and, keep several backups, as many backups as I think I'm going to need, with lids on them in the cooler ready to go for when I run out of this one. So that's one of the situations where it can really benefit you to pre-batch cocktails and have that stuff ready to go. Other situation I've been in, like a banquet situation where you have maybe a wedding. The groom has picked a specific drink, the bride has picked a specific drink, and those are going to be the two specialty drinks of the night. Well, yeah, if I can batch up some portion of that cocktail to speed it up and expedite the process when they first get there, it really benefits me. One of the problems you have in situations like weddings is if I have a wedding of 200 people, they kiss, they say I do, everybody cheers, and then those 200 people go straight to the bar, all at the same time, all at once. The only people that stay back are the people in the wedding party that have to take pictures. So it is really about getting that first drink into everybody's hand as fast as possible. Once I got that first drink in their hand, they're going to walk away. They're going to move around and socialize. They're going to wander back to get that second one. But it's getting that first drink in everybody's hand. Doing stuff like pre-batching cocktails at that time, or even just setting up stuff as much as you can. I can remember one wedding where their specialty cocktail had hibiscus flowers and a champagne flute with bitters on it, and then they wanted it filled up with champagne. So lined up tons of glasses before it ended, and we just worked it like an assembly line. One person goes down, puts the flowers, someone comes back behind them, puts the bitters in there. The second they said I do, we crack the champagne and start filling all the glasses. People walk in, they can just grab one. I sent servers around with trays of them, so people didn't even have to go all the way up to the bar and crowd that area. Whatever you can do to get that stuff ready that you're going to need, or pre-batch it in some way to use it, can really benefit you in situations like that. The other thing is, selling them to go. If people are buying stuff in the bottle that's bottled by a machine, why wouldn't they buy something that we make fresh at the bar and bottle right there that day for them to take home and just simply pour over ice and garnish and enjoy? And it's starting to become a big thing, even to the point where people are batching cocktails and putting them into kegs so that I can just dispense margarita or something like that Also, not a new idea. Worked at a place in California, Las Casuelas Terraza in Palm Springs. There's actually a handful of them. And that's what they do. Their margarita, their house margarita is batched in a giant tub, and they have a gun that just sprays out margarita. And that's it. They're not going to make house margaritas by hand every time. Now, if you order a top shelf margarita, that's a different story. Now they're going to grab the Patron, they're going to grab the Cointreau, they're going to grab some Grand Marnier, they're going to throw some other stuff in there and make it top shelf. But it's just easier for them at the rate they're going to go through house margaritas. If you want a better one, pay for a top shelf one, pay for a better one. But that's the cheap house margarita. That's what you're going to get. So it's not uncommon for people to do things like that. I've even done here in San Luis Obispo for a concert at one of the hotels I used to work at. They have a facility that holds about 2,500 people for a concert. For the same price, you get a 24-ounce Long Island iced tea, Adios, Mother, or Tokyo iced tea. Same price. So what do? Before it starts, we put all the liquors and the sweet and sour mix into a Gatorade tub. We taste it, make sure we got the right mix, and it's how we want it. Someone would stand behind me, fill up the 24-ounce plastic cups with ice, and then just fill them up with the mixture we had up to there, not all the way up. Someone comes up, orders a Long Island, I would grab one, Coca-Cola straw, lemon, done. Adios, I grab one, hit it with my blue, lemon, straw, done. Tokyo, I grab one, hit it with my Midori, straw, lemon, done. And it was an easy way for us to push people through the bar and expedite it. We know that in a concert situation like that, there's going to be a lot of people that are just trying to get the biggest bang for their buck. And the faster we can move them through there and keep it going, the more money we're going to make, the more people are going to be happy, the more they're going to be having a good time. So it does work for situations like that as well as making them to go. If you have some bottles, if you have some appropriate containers that you can jug stuff in, something with a cap, something that's sealed, you can definitely do it and sell it for people to go. And on a weekend like this, Memorial Day weekend, where you might have a lot of people either staying home to barbecue or going to have picnics in the park or going to the beach or, going to see fireworks or something like that. What better than fresh made cocktails that were put into a bottle this morning, or this afternoon, instead of something that was put into a bottle by a machine and sent in a box in the truck in the warehouse. So it's a really great opportunity to make more money for the bar and for the bartender because, hey, I still mix the drink. I still put it in the bottle. I feel like I should still get a tip off that, even though you're not enjoying it here and you're taking it to go. I would never say that to anybody. All they're required to do is pay for their drinks. They're not required to tip. But definitely something you could do. Get some extra income. Get some extra money coming in, more tips for your bartenders and stuff like that. When it comes to batching stuff, there are a couple things to kind of consider. Try to avoid anything that's perishable, anything that's not going to sit well. Definitely nothing carbonated because it's going to lose its fizz, it's going to lose its bubbles. In situations like the Long Island iced tea, I can just add that at the end. Boom. I have it all mixed. I have it all ready to go. I pour it over ice. I just add that carbonated aspect at the end on top of it, and it's still going to be delicious. It's still going to have the same effect. Bitters, probably don't want to put bitters into anything that's going to sit around. It will start to change flavor after it sits for a certain amount of time. But once again, if I'm doing something with bitters, I can batch all the ingredients besides the bitters, or as many as I can put in there. I can pour it out. I can have the bitters on the end, a couple dashes on top, to still complete the cocktail and do it that way. Not egg whites. Don't put any egg whites in there. They're going to get nasty. They're going to get disgusting. They're not going to be frothy and foamy after sitting for hours or even for sitting overnight in a cooler. It's nothing that you want to put into a batch cocktail. And like I said, bubbles, nothing carbonated, including champagne or Moscato or anything that has some bubbles in it. Got to put that stuff in at the end. You got to leave it out, or you're going to lose the bubbles. You're going to lose the fizz in it. And, nothing perishable. Stay away from cream, if it's going to, depending on how long it's going to be sitting in a cooler. Pineapple juice doesn't stay, too long very well. So you have to kind of consider, what we're doing, what kind of materials are we using, what are we putting in there that's going to keep for the amount of time I need it to keep and still taste good and still be a delicious cocktail when I do serve it to the guest. Something like sangria is like the basic obvious one that a lot of places do. Make sangria to order. You make it in big batches. Most places probably have a house recipe if they do it, or they get it already bottled by some kind of company. So yes, it's already pre-made. It's sitting in the cooler. It's ready to go. I just get my glass. I fill it to the top with ice. I fill it to the top of sangria, lemon, straw. They're done. Boom, move on. So, that's just an example of one that a lot of places and a lot of bars do. We can do it with a lot of other things and send them to go as well with the new kind of landscape and the new laws that we have going on now. And if we all behave responsibly, we will get to continue to have these laws and maybe even some more leniency where we can have some more fun. Next thing, when you're doing batch cocktails, when you're working on getting down the recipe of whatever you're going to batch, and you are making it to test it and see how it tastes and make sure that you are getting the right taste you want, you're making the cocktail exactly as you want, write it down. I can't tell you how many times bartender, myself included, how many times bartenders will just throw a drink together and it'll end up being really good and we'll have no idea what we put in at all. It would happen to me all the time at one of the places I worked here. My wife would come sometimes. She would have a coffee drink and she'd be like, make me what you made last time. And she'd be like, it doesn't taste like last time. Well, I don't remember exactly what I put in there last time. It was some combination of Kahlua, Amaretto, Creme de Coco, Bailey's, maybe Frangelico. I don't know. I don't remember it all. Brandy, perhaps. So write down your recipe. If you do hit that magical combination of ingredients at just the right amounts to, well, bam, this is perfect. This is how this is perfect. This is what I want. This is exactly how I want it to taste. You want to make sure you can duplicate it, that you can replicate it again and be able to produce it at a different time. So write it down as you're testing the recipes to make sure that, if I hit something perfect, I've got that recipe, I've got that information. After you write it down, you're gonna, expand it into a larger batch to make a certain amount of cocktails. Make sure you're doing the math right. Double check the math. So if we're doing it 10 times, we're doing it 15, 20 times what the recipe for a single order is going to be. Make sure we're doing the math properly. We're double checking the math so that we do get the right ratio and we are going to get the proper taste when we've got it all put together and we're all done. Also, once you've done the math, and you have the right amounts, make sure you have a container large enough to put it in. People start mixing things. Oh, we'll just do this times 100. And they don't have anything that can hold what they're making times 100. So after you do the math, figure it out, make sure I have appropriate container or containers to mix this in and make it properly and store it in the cooler and properly store it as well. Also kind of remember that there's going to be, some dilution involved. If I'm just making all the ingredients warm and tasting it like that, it's not going to be the same as once I put it over ice and it's going to settle a little and it's going to melt the ice a little bit. So there is going to be a little dilution in there as well if I'm putting it on the rocks. So do kind of take that into consideration and account for that as well, when you're blending the cocktail, because you don't want it to be watered down. You don't want it to be weak. It's the same principle as, using frozen margarita mix is not the same as using sweet and sour mix to make an on the rocks margarita. It is much stronger. It is made that way on purpose because it's going to be blended with ice. It's going to water it down. That ice is going to melt, and it's going to be a very watery margarita if it's not as strong as it is. So, use that same principle. Remember that same principle when you're putting together batch cocktails, that there is going to be some dilution involved. And I put it twice, double check the math twice. There's nothing worse than you're off on the math on one ingredient. You make a big batch of something and it does not taste like the test one that you wrote down. And at that point, maybe you can figure out the problem. maybe you can correct it, maybe you can say still salvage it, or maybe it's lost. And we're going to end up wasting that kind of stuff. And we don't want to do that. That's losing money, that's losing profits, that's losing alcohol. So those are just for tips for making batches and batching some stuff. And it's a great, once again, great weekend to make batch cocktails. And still a lot of people going to bars, a lot of people going to restaurants. This is always a big weekend at the beach in Florida where I live. It kind of kicks off, kick off the summer. So it's Memorial Day. It's the first big holiday weekend. We're going to kick the summer off here. Then we got 4th of July. We got Labor Day kind of ends it. So it's pretty much a 100-day run that we would do at the beach. And it's where we made all our money between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So this is the big kickoff down there. And for a lot of other places as well, not just the beach in Florida. So first big holiday of the year, start of summer. There will be lots of people traveling. There will be lots of people on the highways this weekend. Please be careful. Take your time. Getting there 10 or 15 minutes later is not that big a deal. It's a holiday. You're on vacation. So don't be in a hurry. Drive friendly. Drive safe. There's a lot of police out there. I've already seen locally on the stretch of highway where I live, there's already people getting pulled over left and right all week long. And they're going to be out there all week long, pulling everybody over, make sure everybody's doing okay, not going too fast, and not been drinking and then driving home from the beach. And there's no reason for it. We have Uber, we have Lyft. There's no excuse. There's no reason for anybody to be driving after they've been drinking. But there will be people out on the road that have been. So be aware, be alert. You don't know what the other drivers have been doing out there. Besides having a lot of people will stay home, have cookouts, barbecues, stuff like that. But at the same time, that's a great market to sell batch cocktails to, for them to take home and enjoy for the weekend, and enjoy at their house, enjoy in their backyard, enjoy it by the pool, enjoy at their barbecue. So I feel like, and I'm a little concerned that this is going to be the first real big holiday weekend that we've had since COVID hit. And the first time that people are really going to kind of get out there and start traveling and start doing things. Spring break was probably a big pickup this year for a lot of people, but this one's really kind of kicks off the summer. So once again, be careful. And people are still not behaving well. This whole lockdown, this whole situation has just, people have forgotten how to behave in society and behave in public. So be alert, be aware, see what's going on, especially if you're going to work, you're at your bar. There's going to be people out there that are not going to behave well, that are not going to know how to handle themselves. And we want to make sure that we're, number one, not letting them get too drunk, because that is our fault. That is against the law. It is a violation for us to serve anybody that's obviously visibly intoxicated. We also want to make sure we're getting IDs for everyone. We know where every drink's going. We see where every drink's going. We're getting an ID for every drink, unless they're obviously like me and old. So be careful, be alert. Going to be a lot going on. And I don't really know how this weekend's going to go down where we're kind of getting into the post-pandemic holiday season here and summer holiday season. So just be on alert. So let me get some soda water here and scratchy. So I'm going to throw out just a couple fun, easy, simple, holiday ideas that can be done at most bars for Memorial Day coming up here. So I'm going to grab my tulip glass here, and I'm going to make an electric lemonade. I don't know why I don't see this drink around more. It's a pretty simple drink to make. It's a pretty easy drink to make. Ends up with a very cool color and a delicious lemonade taste to it. So I've got my tulip glass. I'm going to go ahead and shake up and chill and dilute these ingredients before I put them into that glass. So I'm going to throw some ice into my mixing tin. And just about 2/3 full. I don't want to get it too full so that I can lock my pint glass in there properly. Now, to make our electric lemonade or electric blue lemonade, we're going to use some blue curacao. I'm going to put 3/4 of an ounce in there. And once again, this is just colored water. I don't want to waste any alcohol out here. So it's just colored water to simulate what we'd be using. And then we'd also throw in 3/4 of an ounce of white rum. 2, 3. Dump that in there. All right, so I've got my liquors, I've got my rum, I've got my blue curacao. In most bars, what we would also use is some sweet and sour mix that would come in something like this. Now, sweet and sour mix is just in essence citrus sugar and water, lemon juice, sugar and water. When we see a lot of recipes that are the old school handcrafted way to do it, they will say fresh lemon juice and sugar or superfine sugar. So instead of sweet and sour mix, I thought I'd just do it kind of the old school handcrafted way here. And we'll do it with some fresh lemon juice here. Now, as a general guideline, half a lemon, half a lime is half an ounce. I know some are bigger than others, but it is pretty close. I have done a practical field test when I had to squeeze a lot of limes for something and I squeezed them into a jigger. Is actually very close. I'm going to get that in there. And we'll squeeze our half ounce of fresh lemon juice in there like that. All right. So I've got my lemon juice. Now I need my sugar. So I'm going to go ahead and put some simple syrup in here. About half an ounce of simple syrup to go with my half ounce of lemon juice. There we go. All right. Lock my pint glass in. Ready to go. Give it a good shake. It's got a beautiful blue color to it. So we'll go ahead and get some fresh ice here in my tulip glass. There we go. We'll strain this guy out over our fresh ice. That nice electric blue color there. And if we give it just a little shake, a little more will drip out every time. Just like that. Just add a little extra effort to get that out for our customers. All right. And then to top it off, a little more sugar and some bubbles, just some Sprite or 7-Up or Sierra Mist or whatever you have at the bar. There we go. And we have a nice rum and blue curacao lemonade drink. Have there like that. Go ahead and give it a nice garnish here. Make sure I take this label off. Please always take the labels off the fruit before you cut the fruit and serve it to anybody. And we'll give it a nice pinwheel here on the side. There we go. Nice lemon garnish, and we might as well give it a nice little umbrella as well, since it looks very festive with its blue colors. There we go. And we have our electric lemonade ready to go. Perfect, nice, blue, delicious, bubbly lemonade. Perfect for barbecues, cookouts, or just having it at the bar, you know, watching something on TV, watching some baseball or something on TV this weekend. Not too difficult to make there. A beautiful color to it. Now, since I was kind of already on the theme of lemonade, as I came up with this one, you know, maybe rum's not your thing, maybe clear liquor's not your thing. So maybe you like whiskey, and maybe you like Jack Daniel's, Tennessee whiskey specifically. So there is a special lemonade made with Jack Daniel's called the Lynchburg Lemonade, named for the city of Lynchburg, which is where Jack Daniel's is made and distilled. It is in a dry county. Just throw that out there. You can't buy it where they make it. I think that's kind of amusing. It amuses me at least. So we'll grab our Collins glass and we'll go ahead and do our Lynchburg lemonade here for the old Jack Daniel's for old number 7. Once again, throw a little ice in there, not too much, about 2/3. I've got my 3/4 side jigger here again. Gonna go 3/4 Jack Daniel's. I'm going to go 3/4 of an ounce of orange liqueur, something like my Cointreau that I have. All right. Now, once again, we would do sweet and sour bar mix in most bars to do it. But if we wanted to do it in more of a handcrafted fashion, we could do it with some fresh squeezed lemon juice like this. And I'll take my other half, get it in my squeezer. There we go. Get some fresh lemon juice there. And of course, got to add the sweetener, got to add my sugar, do my half ounce also of simple syrup. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a nice shake as well and just get this kind of chilled out and diluted. We'll give it a little underhand shake. Get nice and mixed up there. We'll get some fresh ice here into our Collins glass. Strain our drink out. Just like that. And once again, top it off with some Sprite or Sierra Mist or 7-Up, something like that. So it's got a little bit of sweetness, a little more lemon lime, a little bit of bubbles in there. Give it a nice straw here. We'll give it a nice full wheel or full moon lemon here. So we have our, did not drop it on the bar. And we have our Lynchburg lemonade made with Jack Daniel's whiskey, but you could really do it with any whiskey if Jack Daniel's is not necessarily your thing. Jack Daniel's is a very polarizing whiskey. I find that people either love it or people hate it. So if it's not your thing, yeah, get some Woodford, get some Maker's Mark, get something else like that. It's more the whiskey you prefer. So I didn't want to do this one because it would take not a little bit of work, but it's pretty easy. But I wanted to describe it and show this picture because I think it is an awesome, awesome idea and great for a party at home or great to just sell them at a bar because it's easy to make and very awesome to do. So these are holiday cherry bombs that they've made. So the cherries themselves are infused with alcohol. And it's very, very easy to do. We used to do it in college, call them cherry bombs as well. You get a jar of cherries, you pour all the juice out, you fill it up with alcohol, and just leave it in a refrigerator, let it steep for about 2 days. And they're going to absorb the alcohol. Now, I was taught to do it with pure grain alcohol with Everclear 190 proof. You've seen it also done with 151, stuff like that. They said specifically for this recipe that they soak their cherries in a combination of whipped cream flavored vodka and Fireball. So it's got a little cinnamony and a little whip to it already. And that sounds like a pretty good combination. That sounds like a decent combination. So that's what these are steeped in and very easy to do. You leave them sitting in that juice in a cooler for about 2 days. They're going to absorb the alcohol. It's going to be there inside the cherry. Once that's done, 2 days later, you take them out. Simply dip the cherry into a little bit of whipped cream and dip that into a little bit of blue sugar. Blue sugar is really easy to make. I think I did it for the Super Bowl for the Rams because they got blue colors. A little bit of blue food coloring into some sugar and just mash around, move it up to you get the right color blue that you're looking for. Really, really simple to do. So once again, something that doesn't take a lot of work is going to look very, very cool and be a very fun thing for a party or even in a bar, you know, selling little cherry bombs like this with alcohol in them that people can just grab and bite and eat. And once again, not hard to do. Get a jar of cherries, pour it out, put the booze in. Don't do anything for 2 days. Take one out, dip it in some Cool Whip, and dip it into some blue sugar that you can make easily with blue food coloring. And your guests will be amazed. You will have a great time. Everybody will have fun and talk about your cherry bombs. And then you'll be invited to 4th of July parties where you can make them for those folks at the 4th of July party as well. So I think I got one more here. Yeah, let's do one more here. I kind of like this one just for the name. It's called Pacific Coast. Since I live on the Pacific Coast and that's where I will be enjoying Memorial Day, I figured why not have a Pacific Coast. So I'm going to grab my martini glass here. And since I don't have it in a cooler or a freezer, I'm going to go ahead and throw some ice in it. Just like that. And I'm going to put a little water in it and I'm going to set it to the side. And I'm going to go ahead and let that chill while I build my cocktail. So this would be a rum-based cocktail. You want to use some kind of dark, some kind of aged rum. The recipe I saw calls for Flor de Caña, specifically 7-year-old Flor de Caña, which is a very good, delicious rum. that I've had a couple times. I can't say I've had it too many times. It is kind of on the pricey side. So if we want to go ahead and do this, we can start by doing our rum. And Florida Cognac looks about the same color as this Jack Daniels. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to do my ounce and a half of that in there like that. Then what I also am going to do is I'm going to squeeze some fresh lime juice in there. But before I squeeze this lime, I'm going to go ahead and use my vegetable peeler here to take a twist off the side. I'm going to finish it off with this twist. So I'm just going to take it off there before I cut this in half to use it in my squeezer. I'm going to take the ends off. Taking the ends off, make it a little bit easier to use in the old squeezer here. And we're going to do a full ounce. So I'm going to do both halves of this of fresh lime juice to go in there with my Florida Cognac rum, aged rum. And so got my rum, got my fresh lime juice. Now what's going to give it some good flavor is about half an ounce of some banana liqueur. Going to give it a little fruitiness, going to give it a little banana flavor. Got a yellow color just about like that too, and we'll just throw that half ounce in there. We're also going to sweeten it up just a bit by putting our half ounce of our simple syrup in, just like that as well. And we're going to finish it off with just a couple dashes of bitters. There we go. And we have all the ingredients now in there for our Pacific Coast. Go ahead and give that a slap. That's going to lock in there. Give it a nice shake. Get that off there. See if I can do tricks. Almost. Grab a strainer. Throw my water out here. And I'll strain out my Pacific Coast cocktail. Like that. A little shake, a little more is going to come out every time. And then I will finish it here with my nice lime twist. And once again, to do a twist, we're going to take the outside of the peel. We're going to go all the way around the rim of the glass, squeeze the oils in over the top, and drop it in there. And we have our Pacific Coast cocktail. So those are our Memorial Day cocktails. Just a couple ideas. Hopefully you have a fun and safe Memorial Day, especially if you're out on the highway. Please be safe out there on the highway. Be safe when you're driving. Next week, we will start to get into talking about summer cocktails. Very tempted to bring the blender out. The blender is going to come out soon. Maybe not necessarily next week, but the blender is going to come out soon as we get into summer and it becomes, very much frozen drink season. We'll talk a little bit about making blended cocktails and maybe do a real blended cocktail here, do a mudslide or a lava flow or something like that. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Everybody be safe. And I will be here next Wednesday talking about summer cocktails and another topic about bars and spirits. So thank you very much. Have a great week.